And here we are at Atlantic Canada's first Seafood Industry Innovation Summit. I want to tell you, a lot of great conversations being happened, a lot of collaborations. Great to bring all the partners together, share some ideas so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel in this time of AI and the like. It's important everybody come together and talk about it. Kevin, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Sure. My name is Kevin Anderson. I'm the head of the School of Fisheries here at the Fisheries and Marine Institute of Memorial University. I've been here for 3.5 years. My background has been in federal fisheries for almost 30 years, and great place to work.
Kevin,
both places are great places to work.
School of Fisheries. Tell me about the school. What are you guys focused on?
So the School of Fisheries is actually quite diverse and more than fisheries. So the school is divided into programs and centers. And from a program perspective, you can do a one-day course at the School of Fisheries, or you can do a PhD.
Oh, wow.
At the full range. But in terms of its program areas, predominantly graduate studies, but it does have an undergraduate program in marine environmental technology. As you can imagine, a lot of things here has got very much a marine focus. Mm-hmm. It also has a program, we have programs in marine spatial planning, fisheries resource management, aquaculture. All three are master's programs. We have 2 advanced diplomas, water quality, food safety. We also have a master's and PhD in fishery science.
Kevin, can you tell me how industry connected the school is? How tightly tied are you to the industry?
By virtue of its structure, which is both programs and centers, I alluded to that. So centers are very much about industry issues, solving pain points, if you will, in the industry. So, for example, the center that's a focus here this week, that particular center has a pilot plant, got researchers in the field of byproducts and nutraceuticals and all of these sorts of things, and can deliver either training, but certainly solve things like looking at product development, looking at making sure that a product is done in such a way that it's ready to go to market, things of that nature. So frequently companies in the fishing industry would use our facilities to either test, design products, or in some way influence the sort of training they may do. That's pretty widespread. The center next door here is focused on fishing gear, the world's largest flume tank, but also activities at sea. Governments and companies would come here from all over the world and do research on trawl design. And these days, what I guess historically it was very much about harvesting, get more. Today it's very much about how do I minimize the impact on the ocean floor, and how do I design fishing gear to minimize bycatch, and how do I design fishing gear to minimize carbon footprint. And then the other centers is focused on fisheries science, and another center, and I think probably one of the oldest centers and impactful in many ways because it's community-based education. So we go to communities and deliver training. Wow. And we do that all around this province, in the north, in Nunavut and the Northwest Territories, but on occasion in other parts of Canada as well.
It's incredible. What an incredible offering, and such a tight connection between people that need the challenges solved. Yeah. You bring that into that academic setting. Yeah. And then, of course, to use the word byproduct, if I might, the byproduct is a fantastic experiential learning opportunity for the students that are here.
So that one of the advantages of the facility is that the facility is largely supported, of course, these centers, by the activities that we do in support of industry, but you're absolutely correct. It provides an opportunity for our students. For example, our food safety students are very, very active in the pilot plant. All that equipment, all that opportunity. Right. So that's just by way of example. Many centers and other schools have elaborate centers of technology and as well. So it really is an opportunity for students to get a broader experience because of that relationship with the broader community, governments, and industry.
You know, one of the focal points, of course, of the conference here this week is around automation. Tell me about your lens on that here at the school.
So, obviously, we provide the training as a core mandate for students to go out and support the various elements of the Newfoundland Labrador economy, and indeed Canada's in the world. If you were to look on the wall over there, you see our mandate is to support economic development. Very unique in an educational environment. But that continues to change in time. Demographics, as well understood in Atlantic Canada, as somewhat of a challenge, and it's important to train the next generation to support that automation, to support that that capacity to use sophisticated equipment and so on and so forth. So it's just not about supporting traditional activities, it's very much about keeping up with the latest. In fact, one of the 3 schools is the School of Ocean Technology.
Yeah, there you go. Now, another big focal point here, and certainly a buzzword around many sectors right now, and that is artificial intelligence and digitization. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So, I mean, obviously there's a lot of concern in many ways with artificial intelligence, including in the academic community, in terms of making sure to preserve the integrity of education. At the same time, it presents enormous opportunities. So, you know, at some point in time, people would have been very worried in an academic setting about calculators. That's not an issue anymore.
Right.
So we've learned to adjust. So we will have to grow and learn to adjust to the use of artificial intelligence. In terms of its application in the fishing industry or other similar marine industries, it presents tremendous opportunities for efficiencies, for improving techniques, including some of the things that are most pressing, such as sustainability, understanding environmental impacts, and so on and so forth. So I think for the most part, digitization for sure, but some of the elements of artificial intelligence are still early, but I think for the most part, there are more positives than negatives.
You know, as we go about our business in this sector, right, and there's the primary goods that are coming out of the ocean, but there's a lot of co-products there, or what used to be referred to as a byproduct, I would say. Finding value there is so vitally important now. Talk to me a little bit about that.
This is a significant, and I think it's as significant, more significant in some ways to the nature of our resource and the distribution around the coastline. Historically, when you were looking for value from, say, the fillet of a codfish, I think there was a lot of merit and justification to centralization, economy of scale, large-scale production. But if you think about some of the opportunities that byproducts and utilization of all of the species, there are many advantages to being local, many advantages to being rural, smaller scale, getting the same value with necessarily, and addressing things like seasonality, getting diversification of species. So I think the broader utilization presents opportunities that probably a little bit different than the way we looked at fisheries and economics of fisheries in the past. So I think it's very exciting, very interesting. The diversity of products around this particular type of marine environment presents enormous opportunities, but more importantly, I think it offers tremendous value in terms of to harvesters, to processors, and across the entire supply line for the product, and therefore I think having beneficial impacts on the way fishing is conducted when there's a seasonality component as well as a rural component to the operation.
You know, you can feel the passion in your voice, there's no doubt about it. You're right in your element here. Tell me what you're most excited about the future of this sector.
So, you know, I've been around the fishing industry a long time. I'm very excited because I've gone through the era here of moratoriums on brownfish and the emergence of shellfish and the various regime changes that facilitated that, you know, and all the contributing factors. And on each occasion, sort of separate from the training piece, the industry has proven its ability to adapt. And you think about what's happened in the fishing industry, say for example in this province, and how that the fleet have changed, the technology have changed. So the ability to adjust to whatever regime change we anticipate as a consequences of just the general environmental changes that take place in this environment all the time, or whether it's climate change. I'm very excited about that ability to adapt. And I'm very excited about the ability of institutions like this one and many others throughout Atlantic Canada and indeed Canada and the world to be able to participate in that, provide that academic piece, if you will, that research project support role to facilitate that constant transformation. And I think that's the key word. It's continuous and constant. It's not just we're going to go one place and stay there. I think it will be a continuous process. And also addressing some other challenges like you referenced in a previous question about the impact of automation. Well, we have that demographic challenge that we must deal with. So that, I think, presents an opportunity as well for how do we address that. I think, you know, it's been said at this conference on several occasions by many speakers, the fishery is very, very important to Atlantic Canada and will always continue to be. What form it takes, we don't know yet, right. But I think we've shown our abilities to adjust.
through your conversation here this morning, what you've described, whether you realize it or not, is a really elegant design or solution of government, industry, and academia working together for the collective benefit of everybody. This rising tide floats all boats. Tell me, what is the secret sauce here that's allowing all this to happen?
Well, I think the secret sauce, in particular this particular institution, has an interesting history, where if you go back to 1964, I think it was, it really came about as a realization, not just for fisheries, but marine activities in general, that there was a need for this type of institution in a province like Newfoundland and Labrador. So that history, that connectivity with industry and that relationship, I think is an element of what you might call that secret sauce. Then, of course, we had that very special beginning in 1992 with us being included with Memorial University to add these dimensions of PhDs and Masters of Science and Fishery Science, very specialized forms. So I think a combination of things came together that helped this institution, by way of example, to facilitate that. In terms of the broader community, I think it's a recognition that governments can't solve it all, that an industry can't do it entirely, and neither can academics. That cooperation ultimately has the best outcomes, and I think it's a growing process. It's a relationship thing. It goes on over time, and people start to realize some of the good examples of where that type of cooperation can facilitate positive outcomes.
Well, I got to tell you, what a wonderful conversation this has been. Thank you for your leadership in this area. There's clearly a steady hand on the tiller, certainly here, but more broadly through the sector with you involved, and appreciate your conversation.
And I just say by conclusion, your point that you raised, it's a team, right? One academic institution can't do it alone. It requires the cooperation of the academic community. We have no problem going to Iceland and form a relationship when we need to get expertise, and they have a lot, and so does Norway, and so does places in the maritime provinces and across Canada. So yeah, it's not an island for sure. It is an island, but you can't do it alone. So I think the future is all about working with others.
What a wonderful way to leave it. It's all about collaboration, isn't it?
Right.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.